Okay, so this is a quick video about marriage and its meaning. At least I'm hoping I'm going to be able to make it quick. In my videos, I make an effort to not discuss things that lots of other people are kind of talking about, or generally if I have an opinion that a lot of other people have expressed, even if it's a minority, but if it's been well articulated by someone else, I try not to basically just reiterate the same thing over and over, because I know I spend too much time already watching YouTube videos, and we probably don't need to be watching basically the same thoughts said 5 different ways. So, I think there's a place for that, but at least in my videos I try to put out thoughts that are different from a lot of people. So I haven't said anything about gay marriage yet. This video is kind of about a different perspective on the issue, and it's about my attempt to understand where especially religious people are coming from in being against gay marriage. And so the concept came when I was considering gay marriage. I've always been a supporter of gay marriage and gay rights, and so I was trying to wrap my head around how people had managed to really worry themselves that somehow gays were being able to marry would have even the slightest effect on them. So what I came up with, my hypothesis, is that the problem stems from the fact that the word marriage was corrupted the moment that the government used it to describe the legal institution affecting couples' tax status. The problem is that the word used to describe a religious ceremony was taken and then used to describe a civil contract. There is no meaningful relationship between what it means to be married in a religious sense in the eyes of God or otherwise, and what it means to be married in a civil one, where tax laws are applied differently to a couple's earnings. By using the same word for 2 entirely different things, we have corrupted the meaning of the word and made it possible to conflate a religious practice with a civil contract. I talk about this I talk about the same problem some in a video I made entitled Reply to Question 4, where I talk about how religion has corrupted the word good. And in each case, a word that is widely accepted as meaning one thing is then used to describe something else. And this conflating of meanings leads people to accept a connection where there is none. We humans think in words, for better or worse, and so the way we use words affects the way we think about things. When a Christian hears the word, or hears rather, that gays want to be married, they cannot help, I think, but have these images of marriage and church come to mind, with gays standing at the altar with ministers, somehow required to grant them this holy contract in the eyes of God. And this is clearly flawed thinking. And the reason I say it's clearly flawed is there are already churches that marry gay men and women. And gay men and women don't want to be married in churches where people don't accept them as decent human beings like the rest of us. So the idea that somehow they're going to be corrupting your church, if your church is against gay marriage, it's not going to be corrupted by gays because they don't want to come to your church to be married. They only want equal access to a civil contract because that's the only thing that's denied to them under law right now. And equal access to a civil contract is completely different, and I think many moderate Christians would support it if it did not bear the same name as marriage. So the problem is that using this same name has made this issue unnecessarily cloudy or murky in the eyes of people of religious upbringing. And I want to throw a disclaimer on the end of this real quick. I'm not saying that all people who are religious or Christian don't accept gays. I'm not saying that it's right that the ones that don't accept gays don't want them to marry in a religious sense. I personally think that's ridiculous. But what I'm trying to get across is, especially for people who are religious and more moderate, my argument is that many of you who support rights in many areas have this kind of problem with this. You have this block in thinking here, and it's brought on by this subverted use of the word marriage. And I think it's always important to be careful to understand what shapes our thinking and what thoughts and feelings come up around words, and to better address underlying issues. Words play a huge role in how we think, for better or worse, and we should always be wary of words with multiple unrelated meanings, especially when there's this sort of close relation where this was a legal contract that generally comes in tandem with this religious ceremony, and so it is very easy to get these two confused or to think one is the other, and they are not. So this is just my thoughts on one of the reasons why gay marriage has become such a huge issue when it seems so obvious what's right and what's wrong here. Where to me, a civil contract, equal access to the civil contract, is so clear what's right. And so this is my thinking some on some of the problems with it, and hopefully when we're considering this sort of thing in the future, we can avoid these kinds of semantic conflations of meanings that I think are destructive in argument, because it allows people to sort of get confused about what they're actually talking about here. So anyway, just my thoughts. I wanted to get those out there. Something I've been meaning to say for a while. I'm probably going to do a remake of my reply to question 4 about the word good, because I think it was an interesting idea, and because it's phrased right now as a reply to a question rather than a standalone video, I think it probably isn't getting some of the attention that it might otherwise get, and I think I have some important things to say about it. So anyway, that's it. Hope that adds something at least to the conversation.